coming to you live from the subarctic, where it is minus 31 Fahrenheit, but the northern lights are out. So I went out and watched them earlier until I lasted about 10 seconds before breathing in that cold air. Was like napalm. So where are you coming to us from, Michael?
I am coming from Henderson. I do not have minus 31. It's probably 47 out there. The beautiful blue skies this weekend, which has been rare for us. We've had a bunch of weeks of rainish kind of looking stuff, but the sun rays are bouncing off the grass. Some of it fake, I'm sure, here in Henderson because of the water issues that they have. But that brings us to our person of the day. Craig, you want to introduce?
Robin Cutler, formerly of Ingram, now of LMBPN. Where you come to us from, Robin?
I am in beautiful Sandia Park, New Mexico, which is about 15 miles east of Albuquerque, about 45 miles south of Santa Fe, up in the Sandia Mountains.
So what's your what's your elevation up there, and how much snow is on the ground?
We have a lot of snow. Probably this last week we've gotten about 1.5 feet of snow. But it melts very quickly here as soon as the sun comes out, which is really nice. And I'm right under 7,000 feet. So there's a ski area that I can look out my window and kind of see here. They call it the green side of Albuquerque. Because we have a lot of juniper trees, everything's green. It's called high desert too. So if you ever come to New Mexico, I live right off of the Turquoise Trail, which is where, according to legend, Jim Morrison had an epiphany and it changed his life driving down the Turquoise Trail.
Oh, nice. Very good. So, Craig, we had a conversation just a minute ago before we came on to ask Robin some questions. I'm going to since you gave me such crap earlier, you may have the opportunity to talk.
Oh, my goodness. That's we were talking about because Robin retired from Ingram Spark, and that lasted all of it like a day and a half, and that was just October. So Robin has that new industry or the old industry knowledge that goes right up to October, but then immediately fleeted over and became president of Michael's company, LMBPN. So now goes from a very traditional model that helped and supported indies through Ingram Spark paperback publishing as well, and then expanded into ebooks as well. And now to LMBPN, which is an indie publisher, not small scale by any means of the imagination, but still independent. We don't have the support of third parties expecting pallets of books and anything like that. So what are some tips that you can give that you've seen that relate to indies now, using your old experience and now your new experience? And I think you mentioned first and foremost for indies and success, you talked about series.
Yeah, and I actually got 2 days of full retirement before Michael sort of looped me in to LMBPN. The thing is, it's the same. It's a matter of scale, in my view. If you're starting out as a new writer, maybe you've never been published before, but it's certainly always been a dream. You got to sit down and do the work. And that's the hardest part of this whole thing. The reason, writers are so special is because they're really unique when you consider all of humanity. I mean, there's just not that many writers. But the great opportunity now is that there's no reason why anybody that wants to publish can't publish, right? So with Ingram Spark, with Kindle, KDP, you can just do that very, very easily. And I know, Craig, you teach people about that. But when you're thinking about writing and you're thinking about publishing and you really want to do it in a professional way, it's really important that you think of your work as a product, and you also think of the longevity of your work. And if you can, especially in the fiction world, I think you need to think about your work as episodic and as a series. And, how does that play out over multiple books? Whether you're going to publish yourself or whether you really have the dream of publishing traditionally, the way a lot of authors do coming in. There's no publisher that's going to be interested in you with just one book. So you've got to bring in, a series, and you got to think about and plan your books. And Michael is, what I've learned about Michael is, and you too, Craig, because you do this extremely well, is, you create these universes of work, and then you plot that out, how you're going to build characters, how you're going to build stories, and Michael is unbelievable genius about that. So that everybody needs to think about that. They're saying the same way with their work. They need to think about longevity to it, and the saleability of it. And you need a series to be able to do that.
And one thing you mentioned that I always harp on, that I don't think, and I think we mix terms, me especially. And I tell people, hey, your book is your baby, and oh, by the way, you're going to put it up for sale. But it's not. But the baby, if your baby is something, once they're born, you can't change them. So it's better, as you said, a product, which, yes, it's a product because you're going to sell it. But people say, my baby. No, it's not your baby. It's a creation. No. It's like a craft. Like, hey, I made this incredible quilt, and look at it. I love it. Everything is perfect on it, but it's still a product. And if you want to redo the seams and make a zip stitch or something different, you can do that. And this is the thing with a book, you can change it. With a baby, you can't change a baby. You can raise it right, but you can't change it like, oh, hey, I wish its ears were higher. I mean, come on now, get out of here. And with a book, you can do that. And so by thinking of it as a product, it's still like a craft product that you love, massage, and give it your absolute best. At the end of the day, it's still a product that then, and the great thing about a book, as opposed to a craft, is a craft, you've made one of them. A book, you can sell 1 million of them. Yes. So this is the great element. And series, I've always found, and this is something with Michael starting and following in the early days, that the series, you make more, you sell more of the first book with the latest book than you do just throwing that first book out there and trolling and saying, hey, this is the first book in a series. Would you like to try it? And you have no other books. People like continuity, and they know with a Michael Anderle production, any of those series, you see the first book, you already know that books 2, 3, maybe 4 are available. And a lot of times it's available on pre-order, which is at the author's commitment, saying you are going to get these other books. So that's when people say, I'm going to put out that first book and see if it works before doing anything else. Well, that's nice. And from a business sense, it kind of makes sense up until the readers don't pick it up because you haven't committed to them. And that's something you got to do.
I think it's an
the other
point.
thing that you have to do is, if you're going to self-publish, even if you're going to go the traditional route, you've got to think of your publishing as a business, that it's not a hobby. And that's different. And the people that are successful have done that, exactly that. They've transitioned, into publishing as a business. And you've got to put in the work. You've got to do the research. You need to join a tribe like what you offer here, Craig, that can help you, transition to, a professional publisher. And it's like you wear a different hat. It's hard enough to create the work, as a writer. It's a whole nother skill set to be a publisher. And, you've got to wear both hats.
Through the goalpost. So I will take it from here. So, Robin, a little bit also, one of the things we didn't mention is you helped or built, you were the one tapped by Ingram to build Ingram Spark. Is that correct?
Yes, I was, it was suggested. Ingram had tried to start a service for indie authors. They had Lightning Source, which is their print-on-demand company. And they had that for some 15 years. And, it's state-of-the-art print-on-demand. And, it was specifically designed for, the large publishers to keep their books in print, temporarily, when when they would be doing print runs, they would temporarily go out of stock. It was a way to keep their books, perpetually in print. And, even from the very beginning, indie authors or self-publishers found their way, through the Lightning Source platform, but it was never really designed for them. So they wanted to, they've been tried for years to actually create a service. And when I came into Ingram, and I had, prior to that, worked at Amazon and worked at CreateSpace. So, I certainly had experience in, creating a self-publishing platform. And so I was just like the logical person. So I took all the pieces that Ingram had in its toolbox and kind of, created Ingram Spark. That was we launched it in 2013. And, it was really a great, it was a great thing. I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved working at Ingram. And, the people there have just been really wonderful to me. And, it just from the very beginning took off. I mean, it was like everybody was waiting, for there to be something else and have a better connection, to the trade side of publishing, which is selling to bookstores and libraries. So that's exactly, where Ingram Spark really shines.
So here's one of the hardest things I encountered in the last 3 years with Ingram is, what the hell does any of it do? I could never figure out what Ingram did because I sat down. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was in China at the time. We were there for the Beijing Book Fair, and I just spent an afternoon. I laid out my computer and everything, and I just started mapping from the first Ingram.com and trying to figure out, what do each of these programs do? I sort of kind of got it, but it's impossible for me. Can you give any insights on, from an indie's perspective, what is, like Ingram Spark is the number one thing you should know about. You should know how Ingram Spark connects to this. Can you give a little bit of background with that?
Yeah, so Ingram as a company has been around for about 50 years and now is the world's largest book distributor wholesaler, I would say. And like I mentioned earlier, 20 years ago, they started, Lightning Source, which is its print-on-demand company. And I agree, Ingram is not the easiest company to navigate. It has a lot of depth and width to it. And, different companies come in at different places. So on one side, you have publishers. And, from the largest publisher in the world to a single book author that are providing their content to Ingram that then can resell that content to bookstores and libraries, and including online retailers like Amazon. So they're the middle guy. They're the middle guy in between that transaction, between the publishing content and selling that content, right? You can do that directly, like you have for years, and you have, Craig, you go directly, in a lot of cases to your retailers that are then reselling that content to consumers. But more broadly, Ingram covers everything. So they're selling not only to Amazon, to Walmart, to Costco, to airport bookstores, but also to independent bookstores and libraries. So to have your book available through Ingram is really, really important because it gives you the broadest place of where your book has availability. You can go direct, and it takes you about 2 or 3 times uploading to independent sites before you realize there's got to be an easier way. And in a way, Ingram is an easier way. I will say that working with a distributor or wholesaler like Ingram, as an indie author, you always make a little less money than going direct because you've got to share, the wholesaler like Ingram takes a piece. So if you're used to going direct, and you look at what the pieces are that Ingram takes, you go, well, I can do that a lot easier and make a lot more money if I go direct. And you can, but at the same time, it's time consuming to go direct to, all these independent, and sometimes there's no other way to do it. For instance, Michael Anderle's got great, presence as an ebook. Your ebooks, your audiobooks. You've got great presence worldwide, but not so much on the print side. So you go, well, I'm doing well on the e-side. That's all I need. Well, yeah, you can do well like that. But at the core of it, there are some readers that all they do is read print. So if you're only making your book available, as an ebook or an audiobook, you are missing out potential readers. So the idea is that you want to make your book as widely available as possible in as many formats as possible for as many readers as possible. That's what your real goal is, whether you're an indie publisher or an indie author.
I'm kind of curious. One of the things that excited me early on was the fact that someone said, I want to make X amount of money. And I had no idea that X amount of money was even feasible at the time. So it soon became my goal to try to accomplish that. And so from your experience, without naming any names, can you think of some larger capable people on Ingram Spark to give us an idea going, well, it's possible to sell more than 100 books a week or 20 books a week? Or, I've seen some books that have made over what kind of sales?
And you can go, if you're an Ingram Spark customer, actually, even if you go to our the Ingram Spark website and you find their newsletter, they link to their bestsellers there every month when they publish their newsletter.
Okay.
And the number one book that's been on the Ingram Spark newsletter for the last couple of years is a book called Can't Hurt Me. By David Goggins. And I can't give away like the numbers, but I will say hundreds of thousands of books.
Whoa.
And has done really, really well. And his book's available wide, in multiple formats. And it tends to be the bestsellers, I think, have not been fiction on Ingram Spark. They've been nonfiction. And that's something to think about. It's also, if there's like Black History Month that's going on right now, there's probably a lot of Black history titles that are popping up as bestsellers, and they would be selling, tens of thousands of copies to be on that list. Everything on the Ingram Spark list that you see, is selling, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of copies.
Craig, we have a new focus.
I do know a couple of authors who are pulling in $20,000 a month from Ingram, all as secondary, almost like residual income, because like, oh yeah, let me throw it over here. The book is already written, so you get your cover artist to do the Ingram template cover and turn loose. It really is very easy to upload. But one question I have to apply to our people who might have only one book is, when you get into the pricing page of Ingram, you have a price that you can put on your book of, you put whatever price you want, but then you have the opportunity to give a discount, generally 30 or 35% to 55%.
Yes.
And then you can select yes or no on returns.
Yes.
And so what would be what does that come out to in order to maximize profitability without hanging yourself out to dry? As in, there's some people who put 55% discount because they thought that was expected, said yes on returns, and got their asses handed to them with no royalties because their book was underpriced for that kind of discount. And then they had a buttload of returns later. I'm sorry, I said buttload. I mean a lot.
Yeah. So on the traditional side of publishing, what most bookstores expect is a 55% wholesale discount. So where you say 30 to 55, 55 means that you're as the publisher providing a 55% discount that book is sold to the bookstore for, and you're collecting 45% as the author. So, I say, if you think, it depends on where you want to go. If you think your book's going to only sell online, you don't care about bookstores, you just, and a lot of books don't go into bookstores, to be quite honest with you. So if you think your primary market is online, I would go the shortest discount, which is 30%, which means you're going to earn 70%. And then on the returnability side, you can make it non-returnable. And some of those books that are on the Ingram Spark bestseller list, I will tell you, are being sold at 30% non-returnable. So it is possible, but what that requires, if you're going to interest bookstores, if you're going to make a book that is not, and set it at a discount with terms that is not attractive to them, you've got to drive your readers to the store, to stores to purchase. Typically, Barnes and Noble will not buy your book or even bring it on to .com unless it's got returnable, it's got returnability checked. But I have known them to do that where they said they wouldn't. So it all depends on the book, and how well it's selling, and how big the platform is of the author. That's the other thing. If people are constantly going into bookstores, maybe your book's not there, like Michael Anderle's not there in traditional bookstores. But what I would want as the president of LMBPN is I want to tell people to go into bookstores and ask for his works, because what that will do is get his books on the shelf. And then that helps to broaden, your reach as an author. To have bookstores, pushing your books is no small thing. To win awards, to get reviews, all the things that traditional publishers do, all those things really do add up for the life of an author, and the author brand. I really believe that.
We'll go to the question. Go ahead, Craig.
But don't do anything. Don't set a discount. Don't set returnable. If you don't feel comfortable with that, do not do it. Absolutely do not do it. And you don't have to.
And some of the markets, like UK, is 35% is the minimum discount. So don't keep trying to jam in 30 like I did and say, what the hell's wrong with you? And then you see the box come up that says, 35 to 55. So it's 30 or 35, depending on the market.
And a 30% discount in the US, and 35 in the UK will get you listed on usually the .com sites. It'll definitely get you listed on Amazon. But, it's just something that it's not permanent. You can change it. You can try it. You can try to, changing the discount's not that big of a deal. If you go in and say, well, my book's not moving, I'm going to put a 55% discount on it and see what happens, and then change it back. You don't want to change it back too often, but you can change it over time. Returnability is something else. I would always start with non-returnable and then move to returnability instead of the opposite. Because if you start with returnable and then change it to non-returnable, that will actually trigger returns if your book is out there in the bookstore, because it goes out and says, okay, now this book, now we can't return it. And so we want to return it quickly before, everything kind of changes. So you have to be careful about returnability.
We do have a question, and I popped it up on the screen there. My print book is with Ingram, and Ingram Spark sent it to BNN, Barnes & Noble, and others. How do I get Ingram to help me get my books into Costco and Walmart?
So Costco is a whole different animal, and it's a double-edged sword. It sounds like it would be a great thing to get your books into Costco. They only stay on the shelves for 30 days. They'll order a whole heck of a lot, and then almost everything comes back. I don't recommend Costco at all. I think it's too risky. Walmart's a different thing. Walmart is listing a lot of Ingram Spark titles on the Walmart.com site. To get into the stores is really, really almost impossible. But to get on Walmart.com is where you want to go. And you can ask. Ingram Spark is not sending every book that they publish to Walmart. So that's something that usually happens and is triggered based on the sales of the book. So when a book reaches a certain sales level, usually that it will trigger, that data feed going out to Walmart. So that's something to check with your, with your support person and ask them about that.
And the thing about Walmart and Costco is they expect their books. Those books are mostly offset print. So you see those big, thick paper hardbacks. Those are printed 10,000 at a time and probably only cost the publisher about $1 each. So it's a certain amount upfront cost. They're not doing POD because they're not buying those books at $6 or $7 each. So this is the big difference. Yes, if you have the volume. Yes, if you have the popularity. But no across the board, because the book displays in Costco are very rarely picked clean unless it's J.K. Rowling and this is a new Harry Potter 8. Oh my God. If that hit, then yes, you would see that clear off the shelves in Costco and those other places. But your average Joe, which is everybody who hasn't made $1 billion off their book publishing, probably might want to not embrace that as a goal, because it's not profitable for a business generally.
In fact, I would just say take it off your list. Just take it off your list. That is something you ever want to do.
Yeah. Lose money. That's not something I ever want to do.
Yeah.
But we've been doing it well for the last 4 years.
Oh God, I am awesome at that. Romance.
Yeah, shut up.
Well, the other thing that I've learned, and I started on the traditional side of publishing, and it's like I've come full circle. So what I kind of jokingly say now is, and I said this to a group of my publishing friends recently. I said, what I've learned is that publishing is really hard. I've forgotten how hard publishing is. Publishing is really hard as a business, and the ones that do it really well it's because they are tending to it. They are doing it exactly the way you two are running your businesses. So
we did notice. It was very obvious that you said when you were talking to your publisher friends, it wasn't us. So anyway, so I'm not sure how to take that, and I think this. It's been 27 minutes. I can't really cut off the interview yet, but soon. My God, if I want that kind of abuse, I'll go visit my wife. I mean, no, we don't have more questions, but I say that somebody like you, who 30 years in the industry, you forgot more than we'll ever know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been here for 5 years. 5.5, and it's fun. I love writing books. I was jamming some words. I got a quick 1,000 words this morning.
Wow.
Before 6 a.m. I rewrote a blurb because I started an FB ad because there's drama going around the internet. Oh my God, Facebook ads, they're going to die because of iOS and groups on Facebook. Oh my God, we're going to die. Everybody, the sky's falling. No, it's not. And so I started an ad 2 days ago. I had 327 clicks on it at 15 cents a click. I'm getting some conversions, but not as many as I want. So I dove in. I changed the blurb today to more active and a little more ambiguity, and threw it out there with the sexy points for my target audience. And so there we go. Indie author. I did all that in the course of like 10 minutes because we can do that. We can make those changes. We can make those impact. 327 clicks on an ad at 15 cents over the course of 2 days. You got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. Now let's turn that into bucks and move on. And we can study that. And like I said, it took no time at all. And I still got 1,000 words and other stuff. I got the next couple 5-minute focus episodes done. So much opportunity is available for those who are here and ready to grab it. And that's the 20 books to 50K is such a great group. Michael started it, and when I said, hey, I think I was in the top 50, one of your people who said they were in the first 4 signed up to 20 books to 50K 4 days after I did. So I wasn't top 50. I might have been one of the top 4 that joined the group following Michael over. Yeah. And from that day forward, it all made sense to me because my first 4 books were in 3 different genres, and I didn't start realizing any traction until I had a 3rd book in one series. And then 4, 5, 6. I had 6 books in one series. My first book I unpublished completely, sold it to Simon & Schuster, and they actually published 3. That one book turned into a trilogy because it was a really long book, so I just cut it in half. And they published those books 3 in 3 months. So I really hit when that 3rd book came out in that series, then they hit it hard, and all of a sudden that whole series is a bestseller, and I've been publishing for 7 months at that point is all. And it was a really nice opportunity, and all available because, hey, I came over to with Michael Anderle, and I changed my covers. Yeah. He was on me about the cover. Yeah, they were fine. They were fine.
They were the most hideous looking shit.
And the cover is the #1 marketing tool. It's beside the title, the cover and the title.
I got dinged. So talking about just all of this, and we're going to get to the question on Global Connect in a second. But when I was asking Robin to see if she would consider coming over to be president of LMBPN, one of the first things she said that she did is went to our website to go see what was the quality of our covers. So I had a new experience in trying to, I had plans. Robin and her husband, we had invited them to come to Vegas right after because I wasn't trying to poach her. I wasn't trying to do anything like that. So I knew at the end of November, she was done. She was out. Like December 2nd, she was supposed to be in Vegas. We're going to wine and dine. And she thought I was just there to ask her some consulting questions. And the whole reality was, oh no, I had other intentions, and they were nefarious. And so, so by the second day, I had COVID and everything, shut everything down. So I had to get on the phone, which I'm not a person to do very well. It's not my forte. And ask her, would she be willing to consider? And I didn't have the ability to ply her with quality steaks or anything that would help move things along like I'd hoped to. And she's like, let me consider it over the weekend. I went, oh man, kiss of death. Let me take a look at your website. Oh gosh, what should be a couple of books I read? I'm like, come again? And she's like, yeah, what should be a couple of your books personally, not just the company's books? What are a couple of your books? I'm like, my books are part of this equation. Why is that? And so the whole author ego in me is sitting there like a little boy going, oh my gosh, what's she going to think about my books? So, but going back to the fact of the covers, the covers really matter a lot, not only in the acquisition, but if you should happen to want to acquire a president of a company, the covers matter as well. Who thought?
So what do you mean by, can you clarify that the cover is a great marketing tool, as actually your best marketing tool?
I think the title is actually the #1 and the cover's #2. And what I see most, especially new authors, get wrong is the title, and they're dreadful. They're by and large dreadful, unimaginative. To be, a community of creatives, it's amazing how little thought is given to the title.
My biggest seller is Free Trader of Warren Deep, and it's really horrible. But it was my first book, and once it was out there, and I had a great cover, and it sold like lots, and is still selling. It continues to be my #1. But it's crazy.
Well, it's a unique title. So often you see titles just filled with cliche. They're not unique. If you just do a Google search, there's the same book. There's a book with that title over and over and over.
Yeah.
So, I think that's important. And then the cover has to work, this big at a postage stamp size. So it's got to be really dynamic. With the title on there, it's better if the title's short, so that the title stands out on a little cover that big that's online. And, it's just got to draw people in. So, Michael's publishing all these badass witch type characters, and you look at the covers and they're badass witches on the covers. And so it's got to all match up and be thought out. And he's really, really good at doing that. So
wearing pleather because we're environmentally friendly.
Really? Let's not even go down that path. Right? I get suckered into these conversations with him
Pleather.
All the time.
Naugahyde.
Naugahyde, yeah. So a question also comes in: what does Global Connect mean on the Ingram site?
Global
Set up.
Connect. So Lightning Source is, that I've mentioned a couple of times now, is Ingram's print-on-demand company. They have facilities all throughout the U.S. There's one in the U.K., one in Australia, but they also partner with print-on-demand companies in other countries. So that's what Global Connect is. Global Connect is that partnership of print-on-demand companies in other countries. So there's one in Germany, India, I think there's Spain, Italy, maybe France.
Canada.
There's probably, pardon me?
Canada.
Wouldn't it be nice to have one in Canada? For some reason, I don't know why we can't get Canada going. It's been just, when I was at Amazon, it was kind of the same way. Canada's just,
they don't have any trees up there to make paper from, so.
Something, I don't know, but and unfortunately Canada is too close to the US, right? So they just kind of zip across the border
at an extreme price. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and with a whole set of different rules for taxes and things like that. So Canada's kind of tricky, but yeah, it would be nice to have a Canadian Global Connect partner instead of out of the US, but they don't today. I think they're always looking the same. With Mexico and in South America, I know they've had a couple of different Brazilian Global Connect partners. Probably the one that the two that are the most important are India and Germany in terms of book sales. When you set up your book in Ingram Spark and you check the box that says Global Connect, your book automatically goes into all the partners' catalogs. So then they're able to distribute those out into their local markets. So that's something to think about. It's just everything's priced in US dollars. You get paid back in US dollars. All that's kind of easily handled. And India, surprisingly, is a really big market for fiction too. So that's something, if you haven't turned on Global Connect, and you feel comfortable doing that, I think it's really easy to just go ahead and do that. You'll be surprised, what you earn back on that.
I'm gonna introduce this question because I have no dog in this fight whatsoever or opportunity. The question that the user is asking, any tips specifically for nonfiction titles? I will leave it to the both of you. So no one speak at the same time. Yeah, to both of you. Just Craig actually produces fiction titles, or nonfiction, excuse me, nonfiction titles. I do not. I have none. And Robin, you have a lot of experience.
Yes.
Because you and I have spoken about that there is a lot of opportunity.
Robin has a lot of opportunity.
Talked about it to me.
For nonfiction, this is where metadata particularly really matters. So, and this is also where the title and the subtitle really matter. So the subtitle needs to be a piece of metadata that really helps someone discover your nonfiction title. So you got to think about how your book is searched, through Google, and make sure your subtitle and also your description are filled with, search terms and keywords and things like that. That really matters for discoverability. And, in Ingram Spark, and also I think even some other online platforms allow you to upload your table of contents, as a piece of metadata. That's really important on nonfiction books, because usually the table of contents with the chapter titles will give more, metadata discoverability information about what's in that book. It's all about discoverability for nonfiction titles online, and making sure that your metadata is really, really rich. Make sure, this is where cover really matters again. Have as much information on that front cover. I say for nonfiction, the front cover, if it's in a store or even online to a lesser degree, but especially in a store, the front cover entices someone to pick up your book, especially if it's face out. The back cover is what makes someone take it to the cash register. So the information about the author, their credential, I think it really matters to have an endorsement in a nonfiction book from an expert. if you can, if you are the expert in the field, make sure you get known as the expert of whatever you're writing about. And if you're not the expert, make sure you have endorsements from people who are. That really, really matters. I think reviews really matter, probably more in the nonfiction world than in the fiction world too.
If just for shits and giggles, I created a pen name for something that had verbiage in it that I didn't think the fans of just Michael Anderle would appreciate. It was a little bit more adult humor. And so I quoted myself on it. Michael Anderle says, "This is a fantastic book."
Michael tries boner fic and fails.
No, that is not accurate.
I'm sorry.
That is not even real close.
Oh, really?
It just had adult humor.
Okay. Just say no to boner fic. Michael Anderle quotes.
Do not get us back started. What is that author that I kept claiming that you were?
Nobody.
No, not nobody. What? Come on, face it. You said it. You started this.
Nope. CH. That's me. Yeah, no, it's not.
Chuck Tingle. That's what it was. Chuck Tingle.
Not me.
Chuck Tingle. We'll get that in.
You.
Craig Martelle is Chuck Tingle. So, so the next question that comes in is, in terms of epic fantasy, Robin, what details or tropes that maybe you might be aware of work best to help a book cover stand out amongst the others in the genre?
Well, you probably can answer that better than I can, don't you think?
Well, but epic, I mean, it's kind of interesting. We can talk a little bit about it. So epic versus urban fantasy versus sword and sorcery, right? Right now, we have sword and sorcery fiction that's going out. And the difference about sword and sorcery fiction is that you're going to have the hero on the cover. It's predominantly the hero in something. Think back to the old Conan books. This is where the whole genre of sword and sorcery comes from. And so you're looking at your Versettas and your Boris and other attributes like that. Now, this has nothing to do with Lit RPG. That would be a side discussion because Lit RPG has its own tropes related to its covers. Epic, on the other hand, is in the title, epic. So you're looking for grand vistas. You're looking for something, where everything seems bigger than it is. It's not 3 people on the cover because they're going on a quest. It's 10,000 warriors fighting each other. Or it's the night, and you see this plane above you with a castle in the distance and maybe a dragon flying. I'll tell you that one of the best I'm aware of that does this is Jeff Brown from the epic fantasy genre. And so, but he's also very expensive. But if you go to his website, which is like Jeff Brown Create, is
it Jeff Brown Artist or Jeff Brown?
Maybe. We can find it really quick.
Yeah.
And he's the one that does like the 3D, sort of the 3D effect as well.
Well, not specifically Jeff Brown. We have one internally for sword and sorcery that we have. Jeff does work with this, by the way, but typically on our branding. Well, heck, if you just look up Jeff Brown Artist, oh my gosh, you just see some of these things. And it's he is on ArtStation. He's got jeffbrown.artworkfolio.com. I'm trying to find his website.
Yeah, I have a number of Jeff Brown covers, and they are magnificent. And this is one thing that the biggest compliment somebody tried to pay me last week was saying, all you have to do is go to Craig Martelle's website and browse all of his books, and you won't see any difference between his covers and what you would see at Barnes & Noble. So and it's a very important lesson that Michael tried to teach me futilely 5 years ago about the importance of covers. And we have recovered some series, but generally you get that cover and it's a home run. You ride that. And if you get 10,000 sales, well, hey, you can get 20,000 more because that cover obviously appealed to a certain sector of the readership. And that's
JeffBrownGraphics.com.
JeffBrownGraphics.com.
Yeah, just go on the very first. I mean, it's the very first page. You see H.C. Harrington epic cover. You see another H.C. Harrington epic cover. Kyle Alexander Romanes, another epic cover. You see that feel of epicness on a Ken Lizito cover. You go through, you can almost pick apart because he does a lot of science fiction as well. You see some of these post-apocalyptic noir magic, type of stuff. So you go from one to another to another. And, Jeff, to me, and I spoke to him about this, he inhabits, and epicness is just part of his DNA and what he writes a lot of time, or what he draws a lot of times. And so, you know what, I would just say start there. I'm sure you can find other ones, but that, you know, is for me a big deal.
Yeah, I
So
knew
I
you could
appreciate that
answer that
question.
better
And
than me.
yeah, well, I didn't know, because there's a lot of things in, one of the values that I feel Robin brings to LMBPN. Obviously, she has a lot of how-to experience, how to build a company. LMBPN, we've mentioned this a little bit before, is a multi-million-dollar company at this point. What we're not is a 9-figure company, a 10 or 9, 8, whatever, 8-figure or 9-figure. I figure I can get us to 8. But to get us to 9 takes another level of experience, acknowledgement, and just whatever. And that's what, I kind of pitched to Robin, is like, hey, I'll deal with the 8 over the next few years. Where I want you to do is deal on taking us to 9 figures. And so, that I think
no pressure, no pressure there.
It sounds like we need to go. You need to click that damn box on Global Connect, Mr.
That would be Robin.
Well, he is. I mean, it's also partly just building the infrastructure within the company itself for that kind of growth. Like, you can't have that growth just off, off of pencil head. I mean, you've got to put everything in place so that you can scale to that level. It's all about scalability at some point, right?
Yeah. So we're doing lots of fun things. Don't get us started on the inward argument of Microsoft Teams. Oh my gosh. You can talk about a fangirl. You're going to see that somebody, I don't know which direction she is at the moment for me compared to everyone else, but some lady on here amongst the three of us is a fangirl for Microsoft Teams. So another one, I actually have an opinion. Craig might as well, and love to hear, Robin, yours. As a new UK author, I write in UK English. I've heard contrasting opinions on whether you should adjust this depending on which country you are publishing in, US, Australia, etc. Would you mind giving us your opinions, plural, Craig, not Mr. Tingle?
On that one, I've done a number of anthologies. I think I'm up to about 15 anthologies with authors from around the world. And UK authors, the only time we get bad reviews on quality is when UK authors submit in UK English. It's like, oh, this book would be great. These stories would be great, but except for all these typos. And it's because UK and Australian readers are far more forgiving and not forgiving, but understanding of, hey, here's a book in American English. Whereas American readers are so conditioned to, and this is what we're asking, hey, UK authors, can you write in American English? Because we can't read your stuff and not get confused. So it's the answer is, and this is what I always encourage the authors. And if they don't want to, that's fine. But we put a huge caveat at the beginning of their story that this is written in UK English, and it still doesn't prevent bad reviews. And usually on short run anthologies, hey, it's okay if they say typos, and understanding readers will look and say, no, these aren't typos. It's just British English, OUR for valor, and it's I do always encourage the UK authors to write in American English, just because you're going to get hurt less with publishing American English in the UK than publishing British English in the US. And who knows about those reviews? If you get 10 reviews in a row that say, oh, so many typos, it's a good story, but so many typos, at some point it's going to hurt your sales.
I totally agree with that. And not only that, but just from a business point of view, the US market is much larger. So, you want to go where you're going to get the bigger bang. And if you can write comfortably in American English, I would encourage that. Just go back and write like you normally would, and then go back and update it. I totally agree with that. And I think that's right.
The one piece I would add to this, the one piece I would add is, unless you're focused on UK, if you're looking to be a big UK author and you're going to ignore America, because it's not
I
going to
wouldn't
go
encourage
across
that.
too well. Well, I understand, but there
I
are
know, I
definitely
get
some
your
authors
point,
over
but
in UK that
yeah.
are. It's like you're going to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond if you focus on UK, but then you can be a smaller fish in the world if you go with American English, and that's just where we're at the moment.
It's just books as products are multinational by and large, and so I just think you want to broaden out as much as you can to begin with.
Okay,
And
absolutely.
and for the record, we're all Americans here, so our opinions may be a little bit tainted. And second, for the record, is I'm not a cat.
You're not
As
a
a
cat?
lawyer, yes, yeah. There was the whole lawyer thing where the lawyer during one of the Zoom calls he got
I
turned
am a
into.
lawyer, but I'm not a cat.
Okay, fine. Okay, so there's a comment in Rebecca related to an experience she saw with someone saying, "Hey, this is Australian English," and so we got about 10 minutes left. Robin, just from your first 6 weeks, and by the way, thank you very much for jumping on this call. And there's now, Robin, you also have a pet project, a side project, something that's dear to your heart that you asked me about. Continue. I love how she's looking to the side, like, what's he talking about?
Yeah, what is he
But
talking about?
but let's talk a little bit about your side project where it's for the person who has the one book in their heart that they want to write. This is not
Oh
serious.
yeah,
So would you talk about
yeah.
what you want to do and what you're accomplishing there?
Yeah, so and I'm doing this with my daughter, but we're launching we actually bought the URL. I couldn't believe it was available, called howtopublishbooks.com. And we're going to put together some just basic courses about just how you create a book. And I have a lot of examples. I believe that just making a book, even if your intention is to write a series, but you've never actually created a book before, it's kind of fun just to kind of go around, take pictures, and make your own little book or make a cookbook. I know Craig, he's probably a great cook. He can make, and I know Michael's a great cook. He can you could easily make a cookbook, right? And just how you put like a book of things together. One of the things that I did when my grandson was 5 years old, I was invited to his birthday party, which was a pirate themed party on a boat. And, I just was there. I took pictures of all the kids. And when I got home, I was kind of inspired by the pictures. And so I created like a little storybook around his birthday party. And his name is Casimir. We call him Kaz. And so I turned I used a free online tool called, I think it's called Prism, where you can take your pictures and turn them into artwork. So I uploaded my pictures, turned them into illustrations, and made this little storybook called Cutthroat Kaz and the Pirate's Treasure. And I've got it on the shelf. But that was like one of them, and I made a story around that, about the pirates coming around and, him being part of the crew and all the other kids. And that was like, it took me like a weekend to actually do that. It was like one of the most fun things I've ever done. So I believe, especially in families, and especially now with all the stuff that we've gone through this past year, and a lot of us have unfortunately lost, family members to this pandemic. I think it's important to capture your family's history and moments and celebrations and things like that. And to put them in a book is really kind of special. So that's what How to Publish Books is for all those people that, just want to get a book and get it up on Amazon and that be it, that it's really, really for them. And to teach them how to do that. So that's my pet project.
But it was really, just what you were talking about, and I could see and sense the passion that you were talking about when we first, because before you and I started talking about joining LMBPN, I only knew you from a couple of meetings. And, I don't think I ever got to meet you before the 20 Books event in 2019.
Yeah.
And then we had, we were introduced, and you said something that always, was special to me, that first opening, Craig, when we're there in Sam's Live and see you in the audience, and you're like, this is the most energy I've seen at any conference for book publishing. And I've been to, you said at the time, thousands. At least that's what I heard.
Thousands, yeah.
And I was like,
around the world, yeah.
Yeah, I'm first sitting here going, how do you actually go to thousands of conferences? If you do one per day, that's going to be, you know, so my mind is off on this tangent.
Well, I'm really old, so that helps. Yeah. And I've done everything. You know, but I actually think I met Craig before I met you, Michael. But that 20 Books conference in 2019 that you're referring to, it was refreshing to me the way that you guys put that on. It was very special. Everybody there felt connected, you know, in ways that I haven't seen before at a conference. It was very empowering, and the way you guys did it was just. I think it probably launched a lot of people. If you're lucky enough, and I know Craig's starting to promote the next one. If you're lucky enough and you have the ability to come to that conference, I think it will jumpstart, you know, where you want to go next, and you'll meet a lot of people. I do believe as a writer and especially as a publisher, you need a tribe. You need to not be out there doing the mistakes everybody does. You need to learn from other people and not do those mistakes. A lot of you know, unfortunates that I meet have already, like, by the time they get to me and ask me what should I do, they've already printed like 5,000 copies of a book that is like in their dining room, and they're sitting around on boxes. And, you know, that's just too late. I mean, it's just like, you got to learn this stuff before you spend a dime. You know, it's better to be in a tribe before you start investing in your work, I think. And the 20 Books conference, it was more, a lot of people. Usually a conference isn't that big that I've been to, except, you know, the giant like London book fairs and things like that. But you know, it was the biggest one that I'd been to of a group of writers, and plus a lot of people. I knew a lot of people there that were on stage, you know, with me, and I was just kind of blown away. It seemed like it came out of nowhere. And I hadn't heard much about it before. Awesome. I heard a lot about it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And 20 Books Vegas 2021, we are not sold out. We'll be able to have 2,500 people at the show.
Wow.
We've already got about 1,500 signed up. And we've got a lot of room. We actually need a few more in order to break even, because we've moved to the Strip, and we'll be at Bolly's this year. And we have 100.
Sandstown. I love Sandstown.
We have 100,000 square feet exclusively for our use.
Wow.
So if we filled every room, we would be able to support almost 10,000 people. Now, you wouldn't have room to move, so we're shooting for 2,500 in order to be able to cross-pollinate, to go to different rooms, go to different presentations. The main ballroom will have up to 4,000 seats. So what we'll do, 2,500 seats or however many we're going to have, and then have a bunch of tables in the back. And that will be for main presentation. It is a massive hall. So if you thought there were a lot of people in 2019 when we had just over 1,000, wait until you see 2,500 authors and publishers, and it will have 200 sessions compared to, we had 65 or 70 in 2019. So we'll have 200 different sessions. And a lot of opportunity, because of 100,000 square feet. You can do a lot of things. So we'll have some vendors who will have a presence for all 5 days. We'll have a big author signing event, and we've got it locked for all 5 days. We own that 100,000 square feet. So that's why, hey, we need a few more people to register to break even, because our costs are so extreme. But look what we're getting, and look at what we're providing. And if we can maintain that same feeling that we had in 2019, then 2021 will blow every other author conference or conference as a whole away. The attitude of the attendees, and this is one thing why we make it's exclusive for 20 Books to 50K members, because this is the attitude we maintain in the group. that a rising tide lifts all boats. We work together. This isn't a competition. Peers, not prey. Compatriots, not competitors. So this is, I think we're there with 2021 as well. Everybody knows, hey, here's the group. You speak personal experience. You don't demean anybody because there's no value in it, no drama. Let's talk about what it takes to sell one more book. And that's
very nurturing. It's very nurturing as a writer. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I hear from Michael that you're going to be there.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you got room for me.
Yeah, well, I think Craig has room for you. And if you haven't figured out by now, Robin, Craig speaks on my behalf without me knowing about it.
I might. No, I'd already reached out to Craig. I'm here to help however I can. And if you've never been to a writing conference like this before, and it seems that many people seems a little overwhelming, I will tell you that you will find your people there, and it will change your whole writing trajectory to do that. So I really encourage you to try to make time for that. And plus, we all need somewhere to go, don't we? This is the perfect thing. And this will be in November again, Craig?
November, that's right. 8th through the 12th that week. And you can get the room block from Sunday through Friday, but you can extend it on either side at normal cost. But it's a good conference, and Bolly's has 2,600 rooms. We have our room block is 1,000. So, and there's still 200 some rooms available under the room block. So please sign up now, get your room, and be right there where all the action happens, because they're putting us in the resort tower, which comes down right at the end of where the conference facility starts. So the one thing about Sam's is you had to walk through the casino. If you're in Bolly's, you come down from your room and you can shoot straight in the conference, and you don't even have to go into the casino at all. So it's really a big step up for us as a whole, and for all the authors, in that, hey, here's all your people in one combined space. You can see, here's somebody that you've been reading for 30 years. Here's somebody who, oh my God, that's so-and-so. Hey, Robin Cutler. Oh my God, let me run over there and you dive and make a beeline to the bathroom, and it's like, and we'll have a big sign, bathroom off limits, so people don't assail you in the can.
Yeah, going back, we missed a little bit earlier. There was a question about, can you be successful as a single title author, or must you write in a series? You don't must do anything. There are single title authors, and there's genres, by the way, which are single title genres. So, some of that is very genre based. But even, one of the biggest genres that are out there that's kind of focused on the one book, which was romance, you have to have a happily ever after. What they found there is, yes, each book almost has to be its own story. And then they found continuity and even more success when they built a series out of a single, what they did is just like, here's a romance, and we're going to tie it all together because they're all firefighters of, Firefighter 771. And so, no, you do not have to write single. And then the person that's right underneath it, and I apologize, I keep saying person because all it says is Facebook user to me, that they say, just a comment that I write a series that is only moderately successful, a series. And then this person goes on to say, I recently released a standalone. I'd love to know what genre that was in, which sells itself as looking like a raging success. Oh, that sells itself and is looking like a raging success. I guess it's all luck in the draw. There is definitely some draw, but if you don't show up, there's no luck to be had. So, at least give yourself the credit. Like, you showed up, you wrote the book, you wrote the cover, you got all of this. It's not just showing up. But
you wrote the series. And then you wrote the standalone afterwards. So you took the lessons you learned from writing all those words before to write even better with your latest book. So yes, Michael,
romance.
Michael really, really wants romance. Wants it so bad.
Oh, shut up. Craig.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So and it's very, it lifts all of humanity when there's this creative work, out in the universe for all of us. And if you just have one book in you, that's more than most people have. And you should publish it and be proud of it, and, do as much as you can with it. Do it professionally. It's really important if you're going to invest in maybe you're limited in funds, make sure you invest in the editorial part of it. To me, that's the number one thing. And then a cover design. Those two things is where you want to put your money. When I don't care if whatever you're publishing, you should do that.
And that's at 65 minutes. So we've been live over an hour. We don't want to waste any more of Robin's time. I'm sure Michael has her doing like 100 things. It's the weekend. He doesn't care. We don't have weekends. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant he does care, but Robin really wants to get ahead because she's only been working with the company for 6 weeks, and Michael's a slave driver. No, I meant what I meant to say was it's Saturday, and we all need to have places to go and people to see. So I appreciate it. I'm not going out because it's freaking minus 31 here. So, but you guys live like out. In a real world. Mm-hmm. You can go out and 7,000 feet. It sounds beautiful living in the mountains. I lived in Colorado Springs for a while, and boy, that's such a beautiful view from there. And that altitude, it's air is crystal clear. Wild temperature swings. We're high desert here as well, not as high here in the central part of Alaska, but you get wild temperature swings because you don't have that dense, humid air that holds the temperature in and keeps it kind of regulates it. So thank you very much for coming on board, Robin, and sharing some of your insight with us and the good people in 20 Books 50K. Any final words, Michael, before Robin gets the final say?
No, just everybody, just keep going. It's still opportunity out there for the individual says I can help with that. Michael Anderle, I noticed that your name is also a Facebook user, so I have no idea who you are. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to not know how to get help. Anyway, do try to reach out to me. I guess there's multiple ways. I'll eventually get on Facebook. I hesitate to give up my email on some of these since we put these up. And then 10 years, I'll get an email going, hi, I just found your email listed on a YouTube video. But happy to talk to anyone about that. One of the things we didn't say real quick is the reason, not the reason, but one of the things that provides me, I've moved to Chief Creative Officer of the company. So it's my responsibility to get product out. So yes, you would think that I would have interest in anyone saying that they can help me with anything related to getting product out. So Robin is the slave driver. It's hardworking underneath her. I'm constantly being asked, where are the next books? None of that's true, by the way. She's very fun to work with. And so I'm very blessed in that. And we'll go to Robin.
Well, thank you both. And who knew like a year ago, I would now be here, really firmly, within this family. So, and I have to say something Craig said earlier. He said, I probably know more about publishing than you guys will ever learn. I feel exactly the same way about you two. I think this industry is changing so quickly, and especially for the benefit of authors, for sure. And it's kind of brand new. And so I'm learning, just.
Oh, I think we, no, we lost you right at the very end.
So there you go. Final words, frozen. There's a Robin's unhappy face going, permanently staring at us. And I need to jump over to Ingram Spark and click that Global Connect box on all of my books now over there. But I'll take care of that. Most Ricky Tick.
All right. There she is. Okay.
Hey, thanks for coming back, Robin. You froze right after. Hey, Robin, you have the final word, so it's okay.
No. Okay, let me say again.
No, you got it. It was almost towards the very end, but I just had to.
Craig's line again. Have you not figured out?
I am not Chuck Tingle. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening in.
Thanks, have a good weekend. Stay safe.